Yesterday at the start of my video I indicated that I might make a video on upskirting, which is a recent phenomenon that has seemed to sweep the nation and politics most notably. Now I did cover this briefly in Prime Minister's Questions response on my second channel. Link to that particular stream is down below, where I believe I thought it was quite amusing to have cropped up, but the subject matter is quite serious of course. Now the reason it's been in the news and featured quite heavily is because a Conservative MP blocked the law from being introduced in Parliament in a private member's bill. This led to a rather interesting fallout and then conclusion, so we're going to address that in its entirety because I think this is quite interesting. So, Theresa May said she is disappointed an attempt to make upskirting a criminal offence in England and Wales did not progress through Parliament after one of her own MPs blocked it. Virtually every Member of Parliament has criticised Sir Christopher Chope for objecting to the private member's bill. If passed, it could see someone who has secretly taken a photo under a victim's skirt face up to 2 years in prison. Minister for Women Victoria Atkins said the government will allocate time for the bill in Parliament to ensure it does not get pushed down the list of private members' bills, which would mean it could sometime in the future return to the Commons. Now the reason Sir Christopher Chope voted it down, or objected, my apologies, he objected, was because he claimed that it was because he wanted more time to debate it. Now I know what everyone's thinking. What is there to debate? This is something the paparazzi used to do all the time, take pictures up celebrity skirts because we want to see their knickers, or lack thereof. Well actually I think it's something more simple. You see, while it's all well and good sending someone to prison for 2 years, they've committed something that falls then under the Sexual Offences Act, which means they then have to sign a sex offenders registry. That is the contentious part that I think needs debating. While a pervert, I'll agree, I do not believe this falls under the purview of sexual offences. Invasion of privacy, perhaps, and I know it came up in the House of Lords, but again I do not believe this falls under that particular category. Ministers among those criticising Sir Christopher's intervention, with Justice Secretary also tweeting his disappointment with the lack of progress as the law needs to be reformed. But his backbench colleagues have gone further. Tory MP Nick Bowles tweeted that Sir Christopher was a politician whose knuckles dragged along the ground. Theresa May also included a tweet in this. Upskirting is an invasion of privacy which leaves victims feeling degraded and distressed. I am disappointed the bill didn't make progress in the Commons today, and I want to see these measures pass through Parliament with government support soon. Now I have a short video of Sir Christopher's intervention. This is interesting, and don't be too surprised with the continual shouts of shame from other MPs, but as he refused to give his reasoning then, he kind of brought it upon himself, which seems pretty obvious.
Voyeurism Offences Bill, second reading.
No. Objection taken, second reading. Second reading what day?
6th of July.
6th of July.
International Development Secretary Penny Mordaunt tweeted that many will be disappointed, but that the hard work of campaigners and MPs to get the bill through Parliament will not be in vain. Now while everyone is getting quite offended by this, it's important to note here that another MP pointed out something little known about Sir Christopher Chope, where MP George Freeman tweeted, "He blocks every private member's bill on a weird point of principle, including the really good ones. It's gone on too long. It's an affront to parliamentary democracy. The public wants to see more powers and freedoms for backbench MPs, not fewer. If I could be bothered, I would dig into what he has voted down or objected to cause more debates to happen on certain bills. But let's take an MP's word, shall we? Not because he should be trusted, but because this further cements the idea that this guy is just a little unreasonable or cautious. And it certainly falls in line since it wasn't that long after, along with the rather delightful protest of people putting knickers outside his house, that he then stated he wanted more debate on this. I am hoping it's because of the Sexual Offence Act and the registering as a sex offender. Now Theresa May has since, as of today anyway, well today time of recording, Theresa May has taken matters into her own hands, where the Cabinet has moved to act after Tory MP blocked the progress of a ban which was drawn up by a Liberal Democrat MP in the House of Commons. Now the original ban will be adopted as a government bill which makes it impossible for one angry MP to block. Number 10 has said The bill will hopefully get its second reading, the first hurdle on the road to becoming law, before MPs go on their summer holiday next month, which is quite annoying. But a first reading does mean scrutiny and possible amendments being attached where they are possibly considered to be inappropriate. Now, to get a full scope of what actually happened, essentially 2 MPs filibustered the living hell out of it, preventing it from being debated on the Friday when it should have been, so that it could then be brought forward to a first reading sooner than later. But because of that, it got pushed back till July, which is what has forced the Prime Minister to act now, because she intends to get that second reading done before the parliamentary recess. This has also led to people wanting to launch a probe into reforming the rules on private members' bills, because the committee has twice recommended reform in the past and twice been knocked back, once by David Cameron and once by Theresa May, with Chairman Charles Walker saying, "I've been a leading proponent of reform and I'm always pleased to take representations from colleagues. We would consider basically dusting down a lot of our proposals that we put to the government before the 2017 general election." While that is a bit of a derailment from the original subject, which I still think is a tricky one, until we see the bill itself and its first reading we can't scrutinise too much. But the proposal I think we can. It is called the Voyeurism Offences Bill, which has 1. Amendments to the Sexual Offences Act of 2003 and to the extent, commencement and short title. A bill to make certain acts of voyeurism an offence, be it enacted by the Queen's Most Excellent Majesty by and with the advice and consent of the Lords Spiritual and Temporal and Commons in this present Parliament assembled, and by the authority of the same, as follows. Fuck, that language is arcane. Amendments to the Sexual Offences Act of 2003. 1. The Sexual Offences Act is amended as follows. 2. After Section 67, voyeurism, insert 1. A person A commits an offence if A, without another person B consenting and without any reasonable belief that B consents, operates equipment beneath B's clothing with the intention of enabling A or another person, C, for a purpose mentioned in subsection 3, to observe B's genitals or buttocks, whether exposed or covered with underwear, or the underwear covering B's genitals or buttocks, in the circumstances where the genitals, buttocks, or underwear would not otherwise be visible. 2. A person A commits an offence if A, without another person B consenting and without any reasonable belief that B consents, records an image beneath B's clothing of B's genitals or buttocks, whether exposed or covered with underwear, or the underwear covering B's genitals or buttocks in circumstances where the genitals, buttocks, or underwear would not otherwise be visible, with the intention that A or another person C, for a purpose mentioned in subsection 3. 3. The purpose referred to in subsections 1 and 2 are obtaining sexual gratification or humiliating, distressing, or alarming B. Now to page 2. 4. A person guilty of an offence under this section is liable, on summary conviction, to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 12 months, or to a fine, or both. On conviction or indictment, to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years. 5. In relation to an offence committed before the coming into force of Section 154(1) of the Criminal Justice Act 2003, increase in maximum term that may be imposed on summary conviction of offence triable either way. The reference in subsection 4a to 12 months is to be read as a reference to 6 months. 6. This section applies only in relation to offences committed on or after the day it comes into force. In section 68, after subsection 2, insert, for the purposes of section 67a, operating equipment that includes enabling or securing its activation by another person without that person's knowledge. It all seems somewhat conclusive, and isn't gendered, so I don't take issue too much, but I do believe an amendment needs to be added that would include not having someone register as a sex offender, and I'm not convinced this is a sexual offence, as much as it is an invasion of privacy. But, as with all things, I'm more than happy to be proven wrong. This all aside, I hope everyone has a lovely Tuesday, and thank you all for listening. Okay, not done. You see, while recording this and doing research into the filibustering element of the upskirting bill being objected to, I have discovered one of those being accused of being a part of this rebellion against the bill was Philip Davis, the man who tried to talk about men's issues and Jess Phillips laughed at, which led to someone like Sargon saying, "I wouldn't even rape you." which has been deemed a rape threat by every idiot on the planet. According to a recent Hansard from the Parliament website, which I'm going to link below, there is a point of order that Philip Davis raises at the end of the upskirting related discussion. So, on a point of order, Mr. Speaker, as you have heard, I very much support the upskirting bill, not least because of the work I have been doing with Emily Hunt. Mr. Speaker, you have always tried to ensure people outside this place better understand our procedures inside here, and I ask you to do so again today. It has been stated in a number of places that my speech on the first bill on Friday in some way blocked the progress of the upskirting bill, which was the 8th bill for consideration on Friday, given that the government on Friday had made it clear that they were going to talk out the second bill for consideration, that of the Honourable Member for Hammersmith, a bill which incidentally I also support, and given that to the best of my knowledge in the history of the House of Commons the 8th bill for consideration has never been reached for debate on a Friday, can you confirm to people with the authority and independence of your position that it is a matter of fact, not opinion, that my actions on Friday had no impact on the upskirting bill in any way, shape or form, that even if I had not spoken at all on Friday, that particular bill would not have been reached for debate before 2:30 p.m. anyway, and that it was always going to be reliant on being nodded through at the end of the day, something I certainly did not oppose. To which the Speaker has replied, quite a lengthy reply, but I'll only read the paragraph that is relevant. Needless to say, the Chair is absolutely no obstacle to such a progressive measure. It is important, however, in public debate to distinguish between fact and opinion, and simply as a fact, incontrovertible fact, the Honourable Gentleman is in no way whatsoever responsible for the failure of the 8th bill to be debated. So to anyone that wants to rail on Philip Davis, he has the full support of the Speaker. Whether you support that or not is your decision. If you want to lay any blame, it should be at Sir Christopher Chope, who really should have spoken up and given his reasoning then. But because he's an idiot, he just makes the Conservatives look even more arcane. Anyway, have a lovely day. Thank you all for listening. Again.
Oh, goddowns.
Imagine my shock